Well, hello, everyone. Welcome again to the Real Talk Show. I am your host, Dr. India White. Thank you so much for joining the Real Talk Show with Dr. India White. I'm glad you were able to make it this evening. I'm so excited because I have a really neat topic that I want to talk to you guys today about, and that is parenting and school tips during COVID, social distancing, and online learning. So, woohoo! I'm super excited. I will be using some research that I was able to find today, and I'll also be talking a little bit about my expertise as well. So, come on in, join me. I hope you guys had a wonderful day. My day was very active and very fun. I spent it with wonderful quality people that I love, and it was just a good energy. And so I wish the same to you. For all you parents out there, I know your children are getting ready to go back into school. Some of us are doing, traditional brick and mortars. Others of us are doing the virtual option, and some are doing e-learning where it's just completely computer generalized program for our older learners for the most part. So whatever you have to do. I wish all of you the best of luck, in particular, you moms out there that are making it happen day in and day out. I do want to also give shout out to our single fathers. God bless you guys for what you do. And so, with that said, I want to kind of go into some facts first about parenting, what I was able to find, so that we can kind of unfold that together and just kind of come up with some conclusions together from the end of this show. So, with that said, again, welcome to the show. We're going to be talking today specifically about parenting and school tips during COVID, social distance, and online learning. Okay. So, now, what made me think of this? Now, I've had so many different encounters in the last couple of weeks since COVID started, from parents and teachers and students alike, and everyone is kind of talking about the need that's out there today. People don't know what to do. And so I said, I think this would be very appropriate for me to kind of come on here and share a little bit of my expertise. As you guys know, if you don't know, I have two phenomenal children, Shekinah and Asa. And Shekinah's 10, she's going into the fifth grade, and Asa is 8, he is going into the third grade. I remember just my whole journey, parenting and getting started as a mom. It was not easy. My family dynamic did change, and so I kind of was looking at my responsibilities by myself for the most part. And I remember at the time my mom was still alive, and I went to my mom for some advice, and I thank God for the advice she was able to give me. However, there were still some struggles that I kind of had to figure out. And I remember, ladies, when I first had my two children, I want to say Shekinah was like 2, maybe 3, and Asa was a couple of months old, maybe 1. And I was kind of complaining to my sister, Sharita, who's passed on. And I remember going to her one day. I was so overwhelmed with the idea of being a single parent, and I just didn't know what my options were. And you ladies know how it feels. Like you're looking at your children and you're like, it's my responsibility to be a great parent for them so that I can mold them to become someone great, right? Well, I mean, for the most part, and I know there's an overwhelming sense of love and all this. And so, long story short, I went to my sister and I was crying, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do, like, and she rebukes me, y'all. Oh my gosh. That lady put a strength in me from one conversation. She was like, listen, she's like, I've had 5 kids and I raised them all by myself. She's like, you better not ever tell me that you can't do it or you're overwhelmed or, you feel hopeless. Like, she's like, no, you're going to raise those kids. You're going to raise them right. You're going to be a great mom. You better be strong. She's like, no excuses. Like, she would not let me feel sorry for myself, pity myself, nothing. And so from that one conversation, God bless her soul, um, it kind of helped build my strength as a lady, and as a mom when I'm raising my children, and I do a lot of things intentionally for my children so that they come out to be great. I've had some great results. I mean, my son has seen straight A's many times. You know, my son and my daughter, they're just great children. They're authors. They're doing their own things, and I give God the glory for that. But I tell you this because I wanted to talk about parenting because I felt like, yeah, I've had some success and others have had success as well. And so I want to talk about some of the things that I've been able to kind of pick up on, and hopefully together we can, stumble across some things that we can just kind of take out of this broadcast and say, let's give it a shot. So with that said, I want to now talk to you guys and switch it on some facts about parenting, some things that I was able to kind of research. So the first thing I want to talk about is some research about moms. This was taken from Pew Research. The research that I found in this broadcast does come from the same website, pewresearch.com. So I give them the credit for it. So the first thing they said was that 1 in 4 moms are raising their children on their own. Yeah, 25% of the world is raising their children on their own. Okay, and then they said, listen, 9 million moms have a child that's 18 years old or younger, and they don't have a spouse. Ouch. 9 million. Okay, there's a problem. And then 60% are married. And then it talked about how like 24% are solo moms, is what they called it. Solo moms, where a solo mom, you're raising your kids by yourself. There's no man. You're just a rock star mom. So rock out to all you beautiful moms, including myself, you're just making it happen every day. So those are some facts. Another thing I wanted to share with you guys, some other research, is it continues on. So this one I'm going to pull up. Pew Research again says 24%, like I just mentioned, are solo moms. 56%, listen to this demographic breakdown, OMG. So 56% of solo moms are African American, 26% are Hispanic, 17% are white, and 9% are Asian. And the number of cohabiting parents, meaning you're just living with your boyfriend or whatever, doubled from 4% to 8% in 2017. And that poll, that research was taken in 1997. So you can see here that there is definitely some areas of focus with the household environment. I understand, sometimes relationships don't work out okay. Sometimes you get into situations. I think that there's definitely a root in the problem, and maybe together we can kind of think about how we can come up with ways so that we can decrease some of these numbers and put the family unit back together where it should be a sound family unit. Okay, so another thing is I wanted to talk about stats on women, just in general. So I started thinking, I said, what is going on? And there's a lot of pressure for women. So some of the pressure, some of the stats on women, guys, it says that 77% of women feel pressure to be an involved parent, meaning you're following up with your child, you are providing for your child, you are encouraging your child, you are an active participant in your child's success. You go to your child's extracurricular activities, at their school, like you're involved in their homework, you're involved in their development. 77% of pressure is on moms just to be a good mom. Then you've got 71% only. So then the pressure decreases to 71% when it comes down to being attractive. And I totally get this pressure, but I was surprised to see, but at the same time, it's a good pressure maybe that moms are feeling 77% of pressure of being involved, because maybe that's a good note. Maybe a mom is saying, I want to be a great parent. I don't want to just neglect my child or abandon my child. So I found that very interesting. I wonder why the number is higher. But anyway, and then they say that there's 44% of pressure to be successful in their job or the career. Okay. And then 40% of pressure to support their family financially. So I think if this was taken by men, I think we could probably reverse supporting family financially and the involved parents that possibly, I don't know. And that's just my opinion. Anyways, so these are some stats on women. So there's definitely a high stake here when it comes down to parenting and making sure that we are doing it right. And so another fact on moms, it says that women are becoming mothers later in life. Yay! I mean, culture has changed so much. I know growing up, I would say the ideal age to have a baby and to be married and settled was like 30. And it was like if you didn't get married, settled, and done for by 30, like you missed it. You missed the train. Um, I felt that pressure. I mean, I remember people at the time when I decided to take that step and have my first child. I remembered feeling an overwhelming pressure. And I had my daughter, I was 24 years old. I had my daughter, and there was just an amazing pressure. Like everyone was doing it. And now looking back, I wish I would have waited till I was like 40 to have my first child. I know some of you ladies can relate because it's just so much involved with childhood, with parenting. It's not easy. It's not easy at all, and it's a very big responsibility. It's a major responsibility. So here it says that the age of childbirth has rose from age 26 to age 33 since 1994. That number is probably increasing. I mean, I know women, it's like when you turn age 35, 37, that's like a really like people start getting really antsy about having a child if they haven't had one yet as a lady because you don't know if your factory is going to work or really be able to produce. So it's like all of these different pressures. And so I found this very interesting, this fact here. And so I also wanted to talk about some facts about men and fathers. No, don't want to leave the guys out now. It says that there are 2 million single fathers in the United States. 2 million single fathers. There's so much more in this stat. Let me see if I can pull it up. So it says, and I got this from parentpluskids.com, parentpluskids.com. Oh my gosh. So it says 44% of fathers are divorced, 4% are married, 19% are separated from their partner, and 4.2% are widowed. The annual income of a single father is about $50,000. So that's some facts about fathers. Shout out to those that are really fathers and really owning their place in the universe as a dad and doing a phenomenal job. I love every single one of them. We need fathers. We need that example. Fathers touch is so much more, influential in a child's life, more so than they realize. So I think that the dads that are stepping up, kudos to them. And so I just wanted to share these results with you because this made me think like there's a definite problem with parenting, and now that we've got COVID going on and social distancing, like we need to kind of figure out what to do. So first thing I wanted to do was I wanted to just provide tips. Now I'm coming from the hat of a mom and as an educator. I remember when I was in the classroom teaching, many children would want to call me mom. I don't care what color they were, what their ethnicity, but no, I became mom. So at the beginning of the year, I was like the mean teacher. At the respected person. So at the end of the year, kids got to know me, and then I just became mom. Maybe that attributed to the teacher of the year that I experienced twice, and then my ability to assist children as an assistant principal, helping students to not drop out and to rethink and to be someone great. And so I want to speak to you on all these different platforms and just kind of share my heart as to some parenting tips. So first things first, I want to share some parenting tips with you. Hopefully my banner will show. So the first parenting tip that I want to talk to you about is going to be knowing your child. Okay, it's supposed to pop up here. I don't know if you guys can see it or not. cooking show on my banner. It's a show. I'll talk about. Okay, so the first thing first is we've got to know how to parent our child correctly. We've got to know our child. Like, we've got to spend time with our child. We understand that our children are not the same, right? Our children, like my daughter, is nowhere near like my son. And it would not be fair to me as a mom if I did not take time to get to know their personalities, get to know what they like. I remember one time my daughter asked me, she said, "Mom, what's my favorite color?" Silver. You know, had I not spent time with her, I could not have just popped that off at at the top of it. It's little stuff like that, guys, like really getting to know our children that will make the world of a difference. And so we've got to know our kids. We've got to take time with our child. And I mean intentionally taking time with our children. I remember when I had a lot of different opportunities to kind of, how to say this, just kind of give back and pay it forward. And so it caused me to really kind of just kind of take my kids everywhere I went. And my kids kind of just stuck with going places, but I never allowed them to feel like I was putting like my career over them or that I was too busy for them. And there's a lot of times, guys, that I would have to like sit down and like give them that attention. Children want that one-on-one attention. Like they want you to like look at them and be intentional about what you say, and watch your tone of voice when you're talking to them, and be very encouraging. And you've got to be their cheerleader. And I had to really be very intentional and thoughtful, careful on the seed, the words that I was planting into my children, because I know that this is the future generation and this is the future legacy of my life, And so I want to encourage every woman, every man out there that you're doing parenting, whether it's your kids, adopted, whatever, spend time with your child. Developing order. This is the next thing I want to talk about. Developing order. This is so important. This is like everything. Developing order and structure for your child. I have always had some type of schedule or parenting plan or something up for my children so that they knew what the expectations were in our home. We always had rules up, and I'm not, parent being authoritarian. Like I'm providing a structure because children thrive off of structure. Like they want to know what's going to happen at 4 o'clock, what's going to happen at dinner time. What do we get? They just want to know. They get a sense of peace, and they come to ease when they know that things are going to be just fine, and mom has it okay, dad has everything okay. Don't take it for granted that kids want order and structure. So I want to encourage you and say that if you've maybe been a little bit lackluster on that, like take time to really put some effort in it and figure out how to get structure for your kids. Also, comforting your child. This is so imperative because this is really deep because, children, they all have their own love language. And, I'm not going to dive too deep into these things, but they have their love language and they have the things that make them. And one thing a mom and a dad understand the most is they know how to make their child and they know how to break down their child if they, choose to be a monster and do that. I've seen some things in education as an educator. I've seen parents come in and just build their child up and their child is like beaming. I mean, just smiling from ear to ear. You can't do anything to stop that child because their parents just walked in the room and their parents was like, that was like their world. But then I've also seen the opposite where a parent walked in and that child is broken and shaking and trying to figure out how to get themselves, like how to cope with the situation because their parent, their dad or their mom said one thing and it just broke their spirit. One thing about parenting is we have to understand, like our little ones, like they've got their little spirit and it's our job to protect their spirit. It's our job to reaffirm them in their greatness. And so I urge you to comfort your child, support your child with their goals. This is everything as well. One thing I did as an educator, and And maybe that's why kids opened up to me, why they trusted me, was because when I started school, like that first week of school, so all you teachers out there, feel free to steal this. So whenever I would start school, I would do like this thing called getting to know you activity. It was like a worksheet. And I would have my children always tell me, my students, what are your goals in life? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? What do you want to be when you grow up? And I always looked for the children that didn't have dreams or goals, because I knew it was imperative for me to build a dream, to build a goal, and then to restore that desire to be something great, because something or someone somewhere stole that from them. And so it's my responsibility to restore them. So I would intentionally look out for the children that were a little lackluster on their goals and dreams, a little unmotivated, and I chased them down because it was my goal to turn it around. And I had a year's time, and it was hard work, and it was relationship building. It was, emotional intelligence. It was just getting in their minds and figuring out what was really going on, establishing a trust so that they knew that I was really out for their best interest. And sometimes kids would cross me, like kids would curse me out, call me all kinds of names, and I would just not even flinch. Like I would still let them know I was there for them and I love them. And I found that just having that method and that compassion and that unconditional love for them really birthed results. And so I think that if we do the same for our children, we'll see great success. Now, I know moms were tired, dads were tired, but it's so important that after we have poured ourselves out in our 9 to 5 or in our business, that we revisit our children and we love them and we allow them to love us. I read somewhere that I don't know if I was reading about love languages or whatnot, but they talked about how, like, when you're dealing with different types of love and different like endorphins or whatever, like, are released when you like hug a child for like 30 seconds, like they get all this positive energy and all this positive love. So I just want to encourage you ladies and you men out there, and you're just feeling a little bit overwhelmed, or you're feeling like, I don't know what to do, I don't know how to show love. Give your child a hug for 30, 40 seconds. Make sure it's appropriate, loving, and just a nice little, hey, I'm here for you, love you, and just let them love on you, and just see the difference that'll make. It's really beautiful. And of course, the last thing I just talked about, it, love your child. I don't know how that could be hard for people to do, but I'm not going to lie. I know that some people don't know how to love their child. Being in education, I've seen it. And it's sad. It's sad. Some people are being abused in their family unit. And I pray that something can happen where we can help turn those statistics around. But in the meantime, we do have to acknowledge that not everybody is loving their child. But for those that might struggle with loving your child, or you might be resentful or whatever, I want to encourage you and say that, that child was intentionally given to you for a purpose. And so why don't you take time to try to figure out what that purpose is and how you can make the best of your situation. Even if the way you conceived your child was not the best way, or, even if you have had some hardship because of your child, or some things happened around your child, it's not that child's fault, and children are so innocent and they're given to us, they're precious. And it's our duty to protect them. And so anyway, I want to encourage you guys with that. So those are some parenting tips that I have for you, just in general. And I want to also encourage moms out there, and those that are trying to figure out like how to do all of this schooling stuff, because we've got so much going on. So with that, I want to give you some schooling tips. So I want to talk to you moms especially. And I want to let you remember and say, you are not alone. Again, moms, you are not alone. I think I received so much liberty in this when I had just had my daughter. I was every bit, maybe 4 to 6 weeks after giving birth, I would say. So a couple of months. I didn't know what to do. I mean, yeah, my mom had 10 kids. I didn't know what to do, and I remembered I reached out. I reached out to some mom groups, and the hospital is wonderful. The hospital I gave birth to, they were wonderful at providing me resources with that and like community groups. And so I was able to kind of plug into some of those community groups and talk about some of those new birth, like things that I was going through as a mom, as a new mom. And so I want to encourage you ladies out there, like if you're like, I don't know what to do, I don't know what join some mother groups, age appropriate mother groups. And then, there's some Facebook groups, Facebook mom groups that you can become a part of where you can just share your struggles, share your successes. Those are things that you can do. So I want to encourage you with that. Join a local community of fellowship, whatever that is. I don't know, what kind of gathering that is, a social gathering or church or whatnot, or if you guys have a certain extracurricular activity, you want your children to play soccer or play, go swimming, go to ballet, like whatever, like find that common niche and just pour yourself into that. Be open, be willing to receive because they're there with you. So they're going to walk through some things with you. Reach out for help, guys. Point number 2, don't be afraid to reach out for help. You're not alone. And it's amazing when you reach out for help, you get more than what you ask for. And it's so beneficial. So I want to encourage you guys to reach out for help. Also, raise your child intentionally. Raise your child intentionally. Do you have a to-do list for your child? Do you have goals? Do you have monthly goals? Do you have yearly goals? I know when I first had my daughter, they provided a book, the first 5 years of a child's life, something like that. And it talks about like how their brain works. Do you know a child's brain does not stop developing till they're like 5 years old? And then it caps at 5. And so like the experiences that they have those first 5 years of their life, it drives the rest of their life. Wow. If we only knew that, how much more would we pour into our child? How much more would we read to our children? I know when I was pregnant with my son in particular, I did it with my daughter too. I would play Johann Sebastian Bach, classical music, violin concertos, because I wanted him to be a nerd. Like I wanted him to have my nerdy matchings. And so I would intentionally play, Bach and Mozart and Beethoven and like all these classical composers, because like classical music is shown to develop the brain. And then research shows that when you play it, even in the womb, like put it, to your belly, ladies, or whatever, it helps build your child, and what's going on in their brain. So anyway, I was intentional about that. I was intentional about the names I gave my children. I was intentional about the different relationships I built with, those that were in my life for my children. I was intentional about the different extracurricular activities that I allowed my children to be a part of, because I know I'm building a future leader. I'm building future leaders that are going to contribute to our society and to the world in a phenomenal way. And I've got to do my part to make sure that they're emotionally sound, mentally sound, physically sound, and that they know that I will always be their cheerleader, even though, yes, I am still holding them accountable. So we've got to raise our children. There's a difference between just having a child and just dealing with it, and raising your child to have certain principles and certain motives and certain beliefs, certain heart, things that move them, and stances that they take in the heart. So important. Also, protecting our child. I love all these teachers out here that have helped my children, but I have always been mama bear in the education system, not in an aggressive way where I'm just a total monster, but mama bear in a sense that I want to be on top of my kids' academics and what's going on and how they're learning, and if they're truly being challenged or if they are being neglected and things like that. And so I want to encourage you ladies, you dads out there, protect your child. Another thing, defend your child. Defend your child. If there's a situation and justice is not being served, it is your obligation as a parent to defend your child, to make sure that they get justice served. And you could do it in a professional, classy way. You don't have to be a monster about it, but defend your child. I mean, that's your child for a reason. You got to own that. So With that said, there's some schooling tips for you, uh, then I want to talk a little bit to you guys too about like academic success. Um, and I want to talk to you about academic success because school is here, and I've seen trends where parents start out super strong the school year, like super strong, the curve strong, and then they like phase out like this. Quarter one, they do all right. Quarter two, okay, they start dipping a little bit. Quarter three, some tank. Kids will tank. And then the parents are like, oh my gosh, why does my child have a D in this class? Why does my child have an F in this class? Why is my child failing the last two tests? It's because as parents, we've got to have grit for our children. This book, I swear by this book. I love this book, Grit. If you don't know about this book, you need to get this book. But anyway, Grit by Angela Duckworth, Dr. Duckworth. And she talks about grit. Parents, it's not easy to raise your child, and that's why it takes a village to raise a child. But at the same time, if you don't have a village, you can still raise a child and do a phenomenal job. But I want to encourage you and say that in this school year, we, especially online, guys, we've got to be careful. It is going to be easy to do this whole start out strong and then dip. In matter of fact, the dip unfortunately might come sooner because we're online, or we don't have as much one-on-one learning, and there's all this social distancing. There's going to be technical issues, of course. Everybody and their mom is using online streaming, and so long story short, there's going to be different issues that will come up, but that does not mean that our kids have to fail. One thing I always do, I start the school year out and I ask my children, I'll say, what grade do you want to get in this class? And if they say to me, I'm going to get a C, that's a problem. Because studies show if you set a goal here, okay, if you don't quite meet that goal, you're going to go a little bit lower than that goal. So it actually benefits you to set a higher goal. Even when I was in education, when I was teaching, I would do the same thing with my students. I would say, who wants to get a C in this class? And about 80% of the class hands went up because it was Algebra 1 or Algebra 1 honors or geometry or Algebra 2. And so kids were not confident that they could excel in my class. And so then I would say, who's okay with the B? Who's okay with an A? Maybe 2 hands went up. So then I would tell my students, like, all you C's, you cannot settle for that. I will not allow you to settle there, like, especially if you're just starting, because then you'll probably get a D quarter one, and that's not going to help anyway. And then what happens is this too. I want to talk to you guys about the conversations that we have with our kids. So what happens is we start we want to encourage our kids, and sometimes we want our kids to feel like, I can relate to you. I've got empathy, especially when it comes down to math class. I'm going to call this out right now because I'm in math. That's my thing. And what I've seen is that over the years, parents will form a bond, a strong bond with their kid over their hate for math. And then what happens is the child doesn't do well in math, but they've got a phenomenal bond because they hated math. And then that impacts the rest of their academic performance. So I want to encourage parents that you're having your child going into tested areas, tested subject areas, especially Algebra 1, 3rd grade, whatever. I want to encourage you. And when you have that dialogue with your child about Algebra 1 or about 7th grade or about calculus or about 3rd grade, whatever, do your best to not tell your child, I was bad in math too. I hate math. So it's okay if you failed that math test. Because I have seen over the years that when parents do that, kids run with it because they feel like this is the first thing that I can see eye to eye with my parent. So, and it's the first excuse that I have to fail, which is not good. And there's a spiraling effect. And then us math people, we're stuck with trying to get them out of that rut of I hate math. So I want to encourage you parents that even if you were bad in math, and even if your parents are bad in math, to kind of turn it around for good and tell your child, listen, I might not have been good in math, but I see something in you where I know you can be good in math. and you turn it around. You begin to speak positive, and then you begin to experience what you're speaking to your child. So I want to encourage all you parents. I know that's big because in America, it's kind of cool to not be good at math, um, unless you're like going into engineering or physics or being a math professor. Then it's, then they understand. So I want to encourage you to guide the strings of your child's heart and with the advice that you're giving them. Another thing is starting out here, tips for academic success, understanding the expectations of your child's school and what they have for your child. This is very important because if we are going in blindly, you're going to find that if we are not on top of the game in the first 3 weeks, you're going to be confused and overwhelmed, and you're going to want to quit before course the first quarter is even out because you were not on top of it as a parent. You're going to have to get a calendar. You're going to have to get something to help you with structure because it's going to be mandatory. It's going to be a very essential piece of making sure your child is prepared academically. Another thing you want to do is teach your child school etiquette. For you moms out there, you dads out there that you're sending your children back to brick and mortar, this is so important. If the school says a child is not supposed to have an electronic device unless for certain reasons, it's imperative that if your child has an electronic device, to talk to them about how to act before they go on campus and act out. I can share a personal experience. My son, love my little man. My little man is, I love him. But I gave him a phone, y'all. I did. I fell for it. Christmas present. So the school quarter starts back, and he is like, oh, well, mom, I want to take my phone to school. So I spoke with him and I said, listen, now, if you're going to take your phone to school, it's important that you're not texting your friends, calling me, playing video games on the phone while your teacher's teaching, or catching an attitude with your teacher. Because I don't need teachers calling me. I don't need parent conferences. I don't need any of this foolishness. Like, I need you to be a good boy. So he's like, yes, ma'am. He agrees to it. And then all of a sudden, lo and behold, I think it was that same day or the next day, the teacher says, your son came to class with a cell phone. And I'm going to pull up my cell phone so I can kind of demonstrate for you. You guys like my phone cover? Anyway, so he pulls up the cell phone and he's in class and he's like this. And the teacher's like, put the phone away. It's time. And he's like, nope. And of course, there you have it. I've got to come into school. I've got to pick up the phone. And I'm like, okay, this is elementary school. Why am I going through this? And so I had to then have another heart-to-heart with him. And I explained, if this happens again, you will never get your phone in school. And so why am I telling you this example? Because all of us, we take it for granted. We think, oh, I know my child. It'll be fine. They'll be good. No. You might know your child, but you still have to sit down and take that time and teach them proper school etiquette. Teach them how to follow the teacher rules. My students, they thought my classroom rules were so ridiculous. I mean, my classroom rules, I had the same rules for like 8 years. Always get permission to talk in class, be respectful, be prepared, always spend time on classwork for this class, and then behave nicely. Those are my 5 rules, okay? It doesn't take a rocket scientist. It's just, you just got to put an effort to be nice, to be respectful, to be prepared. And then, of course, I would make accommodations for my kids if they weren't prepared. I'd like leave pencil, paper in the back, and, so I don't have to write you a referral for not having a pencil. That's foolishness. Anyway, and so I remember my students, especially my high schoolers, they would always be like, that's stupid. This is stupid rules. Oh, nobody wants to do this. This is boring. And they would complain and complain. But I laid down the law, y'all, and I would not budge. And I would quiz those kids on those same rules. And if they did not follow those rules, I called them on it. And I also reminded them with the rules and procedures. So I wouldn't always rebuke them and punish them. It was kind of like, just a reminder, when you come to class, you got to be prepared. Just a reminder, we're respecting everybody. Just a reminder, because I was trying to teach them these principles so that it was instilled in them. And I think that just like that example, we as parents how much more responsibility do we have to teach and instill particular principles in our children? Because we can't allow our school teachers to do all the teaching of our kids, right? If God gave them to us, then it's our obligation to raise them right. And so I want to encourage you guys and say, whatever you're doing, continue to teach school etiquette. Also, provide necessary accommodations for your child. If you know that your child has certain things that they're dealing with, and it's more than, the children that go to that school, or you just know your child's situation, be mindful of that, inform the administration of that, inform the people that they're going to be with of what's going on with your child, and be proactive about providing those accommodations for your child so that everything can stay on the up and up and they can have a good day, and they don't have to feel like it was like pulling an arm and a leg to have a good day. And then, of course, know your resources. Parents, moms, there are so many different options out there available for your resources. I know I recently just linked up with Premier Moms with Sharika Nicole. God bless her. She's doing some phenomenal work. And she's got a whole moms group out there, and they're all rock stars doing a great job, working moms, stay-at-home moms, whatever. And she's got some resources. There's resources that are provided at the state page. You just got to look for them. You got to Google it. You got to look and see what the state is saying, check up on, what the government is saying and all the different updates, because you don't want to be kind of like left out there to hang, just by yourself and not know what's going on with your child and with the resources that they have for you. So I want to encourage you to go out and really seek out these resources, seek out people that are really wanting to help you. Because especially single moms, I mean, the fact that there's 1 in 4 mothers that are single moms, that's kind of overwhelming for me when I hear that statistic, because that means that there's just women are carrying 1/4 of the society, which is tough. It's tough, you know what I mean? That doesn't mean that they can't be great moms or whatever, but I think that in this time especially, it's imperative that we continue to stick together and continue to support moms, especially single moms. And if you know that, if you know of a single mom, or like, I don't know, if you know of different things going on and you know of ways to help or you can help, I want to encourage you guys to just go out and help. I want to say I'm so grateful. Now that I've been raising my children, and yes, their dad has been in their life, but I mean, it's, it is what it is. You know, I can say I'm so grateful for the people in the community that have raised themselves up to be a support in my life. And they know that, being a single mom, there's some vulnerability there. And single moms don't have it together. We've got bills, and I don't mean we don't have it together. Like some of us do, but for the most part, there's got to be something, and you got to pick and choose as to how you can help and support and who you can help and support. I understand that. But when I first started, I definitely did not know what I was getting myself into, but I had a beautiful support system that I still have today that were just there to kind of say an encouraging word or encourage me to keep going. They reminded me to have grit persistence. They told me to endure. I had wonderful, wonderful leadership, spiritual leadership, mentors, coaches, whatever, like people that just helped me. And I thank God for them. And so I want to also just kind of encourage everyone in society to just kind of be willing to lift the weight of some of these moms, and all you moms out there, you married women that you're married, but your husband is hustling. And so you are having to kind of raise your child, and I mean hustling like he's got a business or he's doing it, and good hustle. Anyway, and you've got to raise a child and you feel like a single mom. I remember a friend of mine, poured her heart out to me. She said, India, I know you're a single mom and, you live by yourself. You don't got a man. You're okay. She said, but I'm married. I've got 3 kids and I feel like I'm a single mom because he does all the working and stuff, but I do everything for the kids. I cook, I clean, I take care of the kids, da, 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 da. And she just poured her heart out to me. And it's so funny because like if we moms just stopped and realized how much we really have in common, I think we would do more lifting and supporting of each other. And those that are single moms, I don't know why there's such a stigma on being a single mom. It's a beautiful thing to be a mom. It's a blessing to be a mom. There are people that can't have children. You know what I mean? And they would give an arm and a leg to be able to have a fertile womb and have a child. So to those that you might be a single mom and you might be feeling some type of way, down and out, depressed, or in despair because you've been raising your kids or God has trusted you with this assignment, I want to encourage you out there and say, don't feel that way. Like, count it a blessing. Count it a blessing that you were able to carry that child full term or however long. That child's still living. That child's doing great. That is a testament to you. That is a praise, a compliment to you as a lady. So never feel like you're just in a boat alone and like it's a mistake because you have a child or you don't know what to do because now you're by yourself, or you started out married and now you've got 4 kids and now you're a single mom of 4 kids and there's no support and da da da. Listen, you're not alone. It will get better. Um, don't take that stance of feeling like you can't overcome, or you can't make something great out of what's going on with your children, because you can. And especially during these times where we're all trying to juggle COVID, masks, all this stuff. And to those women that you're and men that your kids are coming back to school brick and mortar, I just want to encourage you and say, continue to do your best to be the best parent that you can. Say your prayers and be prepared. If you've got to buy a bulk supply of masks and hand sanitizer, buy it. Put directions in your children's bags. Encourage them to make good choices and to stay, clean and sanitized. And then, reward them for doing good. And make it something fun. Make it something bonding over, and just be careful of those conversations that you have in the morning when you're dropping your kids off, that it's not like a complaining session, but it's more like, I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful that I can send you to school. I'm grateful that you're going to do a great job in your school today. And I believe in you. I know you're going to do wonderful. And I know you're going to have a great time. And, you're going to, do great. And your mask is really cool. And you can decorate the mask with the child. You can, give them gloves, decorate their gloves, or, just make it really fun. So I want to encourage you guys with that too, with sending your children back to school. And to those that you are doing the online option and you might not be very tech savvy, whatever, I want to encourage you and just say, just give it a shot, take a stab at it, do your best, keep in touch with your teachers, and see if you could connect with others that might be in your circle of influence that might know a little bit about technology or whatever. If you want to reach out to me, yeah, I'm here for you guys as well. You know that. Yeah, I am tech savvy. Yeah, I know about education, so I can kind of help navigate you guys through some stuff. But I just want to kind of just put this out there in general. Like, when you're going back to school, we really got to be on top of it. Like, it says it takes 21 days to make a habit. And so with that said, if we decide to mark off 21 days and say, I'm going to make this a habit of academic excellence for my child, of making sure my child is prepared and that I've done all that I can as a parent to instill the best principles in them and the best etiquette in them, and make sure that they're prepared for what the teachers are saying, making sure I'm collaborating and connecting with the teachers, then, it's really going to pay off in the end. So I want to encourage you guys and say, like, be intentional, be thoughtful about what you're doing for your child. When I was administrator and a math coach, there was always a saying, and it was like, a parent only gives the best that they can to that school, right? As a parent, we give the best that we can to those teachers. The teachers do the best that they can to mold and train and shape that child. However, it's a team effort. It's a collaboration. It's not, I drop the child off at school and you do everything for my child and then come back at the end of the year and let me know my child got an A. No, that's not how it works. You got to collaborate with that teacher. I know of some parents, y'all, listen. I know of some parents, and I'm talking about young kids, they don't try academically with their child until the child is 5 years old, because they don't believe a child can learn. So what do you think happens to that child that that parent never spends time with from ages 0 to 4? Never even have a decent conversation, never teach them how to say their words or enunciate, never teach them, just the alphabet, numbers. What happens? They get to kindergarten and that teacher is overwhelmed because there's a developmental delay, there's speech problems, there's all kinds of things because that parent assumes that a child doesn't learn till they're 5. Well, guess what? Newsflash. Children learn in the first year. I remember I had my kids, and there's a program that I use for my children, and I can give you guys this information later. I used this program for my children when they were like 7 months old, and I would put the program on and let my kids watch. And that's another thing. There's so much I want to talk to you guys about in this session. But I would put this program on for my kids, and I would encourage my babies, and I would speak to my children. I would read to my kids. And then when they were like 4 or 5, they're reading at like phenomenal, like second, third grade level. They're talking complete sentences. They're enunciating their words. And I mean, I give God the glory for that, but I was so intentional. I mean, God forbid I go out and I teach the world and I speak and I help teachers. I do all this stuff and then I neglect my own home, right? So I was very intentional about that. And I guess it's paid off. And I'm still very intentional. I still read my stories at night to my kids, which, they hold me accountable even when I'm tired, even when, I'll read a bedtime story and, they might fall asleep in my bed. They're slobbering and stuff. But I did my part, and so it's important that, we as parents, we're very intentional and we're very purposeful on how we're raising our kids and what we're doing for our kids, because the children are the future generation. And if your child has low motivation, low self-esteem, I want to encourage you to really build that child. Now, listen, if you might not have the best relationship with your child, maybe do some reflection and figure out, where did we go wrong? Like, where did we go south? How can I fix this? Another thing is realizing that you only have so much window of time to influence your child until eventually your voice of influence will begin to diminish. And then they start developing voices of influences from their friends and from mentors. This is why it's important, especially in African American communities and other communities, that we intentionally look for mentors for our children, especially our Black boys, because, like, I know my son, he wants to be a pastor, he wants to be a cop, he wants to be a pilot, and so I look for people that are already in those spots. They're already operating in those careers to mentor him, because I know this boy is going to become a Black teenager, and then he's going to become a Black male, an adult, and I need him to know the expectations of him in society, and I need him to be a great example in society, a great person to give back, and not just Black. Every kid needs a great role model. Every kid needs a mentor. Every kid needs someone to just be intentional and thoughtful about pouring into their lives in a healthy manner so that they can be molded into someone phenomenal. And so, with that said, I just wanted to just come on here and just kind of have us talk about parenting, because I know there were many questions about going back to school and, would we be prepared? And I want to encourage you and tell you and give you that affirmation that yes, you will be fine, and just know this: we are all in this together. We are all trying to do this online streaming together. You're not alone. And just remember some of these parenting tips, that I gave you. Know your child, spend time with them, develop order and structure, comfort your child, support your child in their goals, love your child. Again, schooling tips: you're not alone. You can reach out for help, raise your child intentionally, protect that baby, and defend your child. Tips for the academic success: understand the expectations of your child's school and what they have for your child. Teach them school etiquette. Provide necessary accommodations with your child. Know resources. And I also want to say, make sure you're communicating with those teachers on a regular basis, so that there aren't any surprises, and so that um, you can know at all times what's going on with your child. And so with that said, those are just some facts and some tips, and to all you fathers out there that might feel like, oh, I'm just a dad, I didn't give birth, I don't really know. Fathers, you matter, um and to those that are raising up and being a wonderful, healthy, beautiful father, thank you. And maybe you could take some other children under your wing and mentor them and coach them and just kind of be in the picture, because our children need us, y'all. They need us. And so I want to encourage everybody that watched this to give back in any way that you can to a child. If you are not a parent, maybe you can think about adopting a child or taking a child under your wing as a mentor, that that could use it, because these children, they're going to need you. They're going to need us. They're the future generation, and we don't want to let them down. So, with that said, I've kind of poured out my heart, my soul about this. I've provided you guys some research, and I know that we're getting ready to go back to school. Some of us have already started back. Some of us are going back on Monday. And so with that said, I just want to wish you all the best. Make sure you go into the school year being intentional, being thoughtful, and being that teacher's cheerleader, an advocate for that teacher, and not going in with an attitude of being a sour grape, but really being thoughtful as to how can I really help this child and help this teacher do their job in a better way. I always love the parents that if Johnny was acting up, I could just say, hey, Johnny had a bad day today. This is what he said to me, or this is what he did do or did not do. That parent that was like, I'll be there in 5 minutes was the best parent ever. So I just want to encourage you guys to be that wonderful parent. You might not be able to show up in 5 minutes. Maybe you have to follow up with the parent, conference or whatever, or an email, but just try to be open-minded. When that teacher is telling you stuff, try to really kind of see both sides, but just realize the teacher is not going to spend 30 minutes compiling an email to tell a lie about your child. Like, some truth is in that email. So sometimes we have to kind of, as parents, come alongside the administration team and the teachers and see how can we help our child. And we know our children better than they do. So it pays to really kind of be thoughtful and intentional on that. So with that said, guys, I'm going to wrap up the show. Thank you so much for allowing me to share this. I hope that you guys have had a phenomenal time on the Real Talk Show. Feel free to tune in next week. We're going to definitely have a phenomenal show next week as well. If you are wanting to be a part of the show, feel free to send me an email at india.white.123@gmail.com with your photo and your bio, and let's talk. Let's get you on the show. Also, I've got some really phenomenal things going on. We just finished our Power Up and Overcomer book series. All 20 authors. We are done, and the books are going to be released this September, which is next week. So we're excited. So if you want a copy, I do have a link. I've provided it in the Real Talk Show scroll feed already, and on my personal Facebook page and Instagram and things like that. So make sure that you follow up with me if you're interested in that. I don't want to take up too much of your guys' time. I really enjoyed just kind of sharing my heart and some facts with you guys tonight. I hope you have a blessed night. I hope you get some sleep. And I'm looking forward to doing this definitely again. Make sure you reach out to me again regarding if you wanted to be on the show, any feedback that you have, if you need me to come into your school and speak, or you need me to do a virtual webinar, or you just want some advice as to how to homeschool or as to how to, help your child, I'm here for you guys. So don't feel like you're out there floating by yourself, because you're not. You're not alone. Reach out for help. I'm here. And I love you guys. Thank you so much for allowing me to share this show with you. And I will see you guys next week, Thursday. Check out my book, Power of an Overcomer, because we are all overcomers. And so with that said, you guys have a phenomenal night. I'll see you next Thursday. Bye.